and welcome to A Table for One. Thanks for joining your hosts Jeanette Aycock and Shanta Langford as we savor the single feast of life. And join us as we chat and share about the over 40 life experience. Hello, Jeanette, darling.
Hello, Miss Shasha. How are you this evening?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. And how are you?
I am fine.
Good.
How was your week?
Week was good. I'm loving the fall. You know, I love fall weather. Although it was a little bit more warm today than it was a couple of days ago. I like the crispness in the air, you know.
That's true. And the other thing is the fall no longer is associated with children or going back to school. It's like, okay, the kids have gone back. We can claim
that's true. But I have to stop. But I take the subway, so they're now back in my life.
All right. Well, my
condolences. At least, in the afternoon because I work in the evening, so yeah, I see those precious darlings on my way to work. So,
well. But it brings up another point, and also part of our list of 40 things.
Oh, right. So we have our new 5, the next 5.
Yes, having to do with, work and relationships, that you do have a greater freedom for your schedule and planning than if you had children underfoot. And you can decide to work in the evenings rather than... Oh, I must be home when, when the husband or the children are home from school and or work.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, I guess that would also make it be different if, like, on a Thursday or Friday, when your coworkers want to go out for a drink. You know, I always had coworkers who, if they had kids or whatever, they'd have to definitely make plans ahead of time because someone had to be home. For the kids.
Right. And after a while, I think when you have children, I mean, going back into this 40 things, you have more time now to really foster relationships, because if you've got to rush home to a child or a husband, you're going to be a little less likely to linger on a Friday night or to take the impromptu suggestion to go out for a drink or go out to dinner after work.
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it because it's like you always have that freedom to do it. So it never, because there were some Friday nights where I really had nothing to do and I would just sit at my desk and go,
that's good.
Look at this. Look at this life.
Yes, right. This is my...
Girl, you living the Mary Richards life, aren't you? You're gonna make it after all. Well, I hadn't made it yet. Still haven't, but that's beside the point. The point is, I just wish I had a hat I could throw up in the air.
Right.
But not a lot of people get that reference.
No.
And about that, too. Do you remember... Did you ever watch Mary Tyler Moore Show?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, I love that show. Yeah. Little did I know
that you were going to be embodying
living it.
Yeah.
I always, it's interesting now that I think back to a lot of the TV shows that I watched, the people that I really gravitated to at the time, like Good Times, Valona Woods. Oh, I loved Valona Woods. Single woman, no kids. Well, until she got Penny, but that's a whole other story. But anyway.
Yes, let's stick to the original script.
Yes. Mary Richards. I'm trying to think of who else was single. Oh, that girl, Marlo Thomas. But then she got engaged to I forgot his name. But anyway. Joe. Yeah, it was certain women that I gravitated to as a kid.
Not even knowing.
No. But what I loved about it is that life didn't seem horrible. Mary never had she always had dates, but she wasn't married and she didn't have kids, and it didn't look bad, and I didn't feel like, oh, poor Mary, It was like her and Rhoda, I loved them, and I love that whole kind of I don't know. There was something about it that just seemed so fun.
Right, and that girl, I mean, the Marlo Thomas thing.
Yes.
And I
she wore fabulous clothes.
And it came at a time when, in the 60s, where women were becoming liberated, and there was this fantasy, for the most part, that people, young women now had this newfound freedom and could go out there and live the single life. And I guess, some of the underpinning of that assumed that these women had the skills and the financial freedom to do these things, because that wasn't true for all demographics, but it suited the TV demographic of the time.
But the thing I loved about, especially Mary Tyler Moore, is that she came in as associate producer, and they tapped on some of the subjects that, there was one episode where Mary found out that a guy who was a lower person was making more. Yes. I think that was it.
That.
Yeah, because I remember the first episode. Remember, Lou said to her, "If you can take $4 less, you can be a producer," or something like that. And she was just like, "I'll just be associate producer." It was really funny. But then, it was an interesting thing because she had a job that was. It almost seemed like she was Lou's secretary and assistant, but she had associate producer title. I don't know. It was really weird.
Well,
but she carried a lot of weight,
Yeah. In order to keep that demographic going, you couldn't be too much out there at those times and have this.
Couldn't be a hard-nosed Hannah.
Right. We're not ready for that. TV was not ready for that yet.
Yeah, but I think it suited enough of that feminist movement that it was okay at the time.
It was
where start. It didn't ruffle a lot of feathers. Where, like, even with Good Times, it's like, of course they had to live in the slums. I mean, God forbid. But then Valona, she lived in the projects, but she dressed so
yes.
She always had different wigs, different clothing and stuff, but then you find out that she worked at a boutique.
Yeah, so a logical explanation.
So it made more sense, but then you also find out that she'd been working for a long time, and I remember that one episode where she had moved up from cashier to now, like she was head, I don't know, was she a head buyer or something? I can't even remember what it was, but because this guy wanted to marry her, and he basically wanted her to stay at home, and he bought the boutique for for her, and she was really excited about it. He bought the boutique thinking, oh well, you could just stay at home, and she's like, dude, like, what don't you get?
Yes,
which
is a pretty modern notion and pretty far ahead of its time, considering all of the social environment that she was subjected to.
Right. And it was more so about the Evans family than her, but I like the way this quite a few times they would, spotlight her. And that one time, and I'll always remember this line, is when Florida thought, that she was going to fix her up with somebody. And Valona has that famous line where she says, "Florida, I'm alone, but I ain't lonely." And I always love that line, and I'm like, now I'm starting to realize why.
Exactly. And again, it goes back to one of the things that, in these 40 so-called things about what no one tells you over 40, is that you don't have to be alone, but you now can be selective. You don't have to hang out with a couple because they have kids your kid's age, or because your partner needs to hang out with this group of people to further their career goals or their social goals. You can hang out with people maybe because they can further your goals, but you don't have to hang out with people you don't want to. You can be a lot more open about your relationships and the ones you want to build.
Right. And also it's like, I think this whole notion of lonely means that you don't have someone. And I think sometimes the loneliest people are people who are with people. So I've always thought that, yes, it's hard sometimes, and I think everyone feels lonely. That's a part of the human condition.
Right.
But I've always thought the worst feeling would be if I felt lonely with someone,
Yes.
because I understand why I feel lonely now, and that doesn't come all the time, And also those moments that I do feel that way, it's not from anything that is apparent. Like, I'm lonely because I don't have someone. I'm lonely because I don't have kids. No, it's not that. It's just there's something that moves me at that moment where I feel lonely, and it doesn't last. But I think that's for everybody.
Yeah, and I think too that there is an art to being alone and being happy with that being alone. I think because your happiness doesn't depend on someone else, but unless you give yourself some solitude and the value of solitude, of being on your own, you never really grow into what your qualities are. If you're always with somebody else, you may either be a mirror for them, or you may be a sponge for their qualities. So when you're alone, you have to look at yourself, and you have to also appreciate that you don't need somebody else to make you happy. If you do, then you're never going to be happy.
Right. And I think also when I was in my 20s and 30s, I think the notion of getting married meant that somebody chose me. Look, I was chosen.
Yes.
So then as you creep to 40, and then ain't nobody chose me yet, then you have to really, really start loving yourself.
Yes.
Because society says, well, something got to be wrong with you. Because you're 40 years old and ain't nobody chose you yet.
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
So once you get past that tier of scrutiny from your friends, from your family, from the outside forces, then you have to move to the second tier, and that's the hardest tier, is you. Because a lot of times we get into situations of relationships with people based on the fear of being alone, based on the fear that I'm not good enough, and this is the best I'm going to get, or I don't even know what I like, but this person's in my face and they like me, so go for it, So once you get past those tiers of accepting and understanding, no, I have choices. I know who I am. I know what I like. I know, and okay, I haven't been chosen. If the world says that I haven't been chosen, well, okay, I haven't been chosen, but I've chosen myself. Ooh, that was good, wasn't it?
It was very good.
Thank you. But but in all honesty, I have chosen myself. I think once you choose yourself, then you can't let all these other things infiltrate in, like, all these vagabonds and ne'er-do-wells and
exactly.
People that you shouldn't even say hello to, let alone be in a relationship with.
Right. I mean,
and that goes for men, women, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think also that, somewhere in your development, you get past the musical chairs portion of your life identity, that, I don't want to be the one that doesn't have a seat. I don't want to be.
Yes.
And then you start saying, the next phase is, why am I playing this game? I don't particularly want to sit down, nor do I want to race around looking for a seat in some game that I'm not interested in. But, and the other part of it is, why is it that I'm also feeling that somebody has to choose me? Maybe I don't see anybody that I want to make that kind of commitment with. So what
that sounded so more mature, the way you said it.
Oh.
Because I always considered that stalking, but
well, it depends. Everything is a matter of degree, but
apparently, people that I had chosen, let's say, I had my eye on. Mm-hmm. Some might suggest it was stalking, but I just think it's like you are very, very committed
that's
to the person finding out that you're an amazing person.
Yes. Yes. Well.
But hey, listen. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode, and be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And also check out our website at table4, spelled FOUR, and the number 1.com. There you'll find interesting articles, our episode calendar, product recommendations, and information on becoming a patron. Thanks for listening.